what is the sexiest thing about you?
Ooh. What is the sexiest thing?
You're a vibe. Like the first time I saw you in the live, I was like, wow. It's like the hair, the cap, the look. I was like, wow, I like that.
The sexiest thing about me,
Mhm.
oh my God, is I have a lot of balls. There's a
Cojones,
play on
yes.
words there. I wish that I was more empowered in my 20s in many ways, even though I was courageous and had bravado. I wish that I understood the power of listening to your instinct and standing up for myself, speaking up in rooms, you know, really to honor yourself, period.
Hi guys, I'm Bea.
And I'm Shari.
We are here today for 30 Questions with Thriving People, and we are interviewing the fabulous Nicole Ponseca. She is a restaurateur of Jeepney and also a writer of I Am Filipino and This Is How We Cook, and she was nominated for a James Beard Award, and she is going to be amazing, I think. Yeah,
I
believe
know.
so.
I am so excited for this interview, Bea, because as you know, food is my love language. The way to my heart is through my stomach.
Yes, and we love to cook because we're wife material, but yes,
Wife
and food
material.
food is also my favorite aphrodisiac. So guys, enjoy this very delicious conversation.
Interview. Yes, enjoy it, guys.
Oh, oysters and champagne
Oh.
or rosé from Provence.
Okay. Oh, you're really transporting me to that. I wish I was there. But okay, we talked about your best first date already. You also mentioned that adobo was kind of like the nicest thing that someone made for you. Are there any other standout dishes that other people have prepared for you?
I had a boyfriend apologize by making me a huge lobster and lamb chop dinner and invited all my friends, and it didn't go well as the food was good, so that was sweet.
Oh.
I've had some of the best restaurants in the world, gone on some pretty amazing dates, but it really is the most heartfelt when they make me things. Even I'm saying like buttered toast and eggs. It doesn't have to be so special. It's really, honestly, is the thought that counts. Yeah.
Yes, breakfast in the morning by a man is actually quite nice, right?
Yeah.
There's something there. Very, very thoughtful.
Yeah. So Nicole, we talk about like what men cook for you, but what about you? What do you like to prepare for your date? Bea and I have a term we like to call it #wife material when we start cooking something good. So what would your go-to dish be to seduce a date?
Ooh, the key to it all is just having a really great mise en place, and preferably I like to do it the day before, so that way when I'm actually in dinner, I'm just throwing the shit together like super fast. Like I don't really want to be like sweaty and crazy and erratic. And if you wait the day up, you will be. So get your shit together the day before, an hour before he comes over or she comes over or whomever, you put it together and you look effortless. It's really great.
I love that.
like
Dapat talaga effortless. I think that's important.
Oh,
Or at least looks like it.
I'm a natural. Okay. So Nicole, in your restaurants, when you observe your diners, can you tell if couples are in love or doomed with how they dine in your restaurant?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell if it's a good date, a bad date. I can tell how people fight.
Yeah.
There's so many nonverbal cues that you can pick up on, and how people interact and how they share their food. There's a lot of heavy resentment I see at tables from couples that, I just feel so bad because you just get the sense that they're locked. And so, yeah, I can tell. I can tell really great first Tinder dates because Jeepney, believe it or not, the majority of our diners were tourists and business diners, but there were a few articles, if I'm not mistaken, where Jeepney was shouted out for like being a great destination for Tinder dates or Bumble dates or whatever. And it was really astounding because there was so much going on. You know, had this interesting food. It was a crazy environment. So if you were the worst conversationalist or felt like, oh my God, this isn't going to go anywhere, at least you had like a lot to go on.
Yeah.
And you could really tell. I've had, you know, between both of my restaurants, I really have to say I've had a lot of first dates who went on to first marriages, who went to first babies. Like, so maybe it's not oysters and champagne, but maybe Filipino food is truly the number one aphrodisiac.
I like that. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, we're all kind of trapped now and we're all dating virtually because of the pandemic. Can you give us tips on how we can survive this whole virtual world romances?
Well, I mean, I made some connections. I don't know how to survive. I mean, I've worked really hard at getting here, being independent and really owning being solo. I was in 2 back-to-back relationships. Both were 10 years long. I know it's hard to believe because I'm only 30, but they were very long and serious relationships, and they were back-to-back. So I've worked really hard where I'm at now, and COVID was great because I had already like really enjoyed my time and my friends. And if anyone were to come into my life now, I think the key to my survival being single was like, it would be an added bonus. You know, it would be, it wasn't like in lieu of or filling a void. It would just be a cherry on top.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, back to back is also very intense, right? And I'm curious about this because nowadays there's such a paradox of choice, and it's very evident in the dating world. You are a true original. You've done a lot of self work, and you also hustle. How do you one become an original, really? Because you know, when you're swiping right or left or whatever people do nowadays, there's so many, and you feel like you're going through a deck of cards.
Yeah. Well, I would get a lot of swipes on mine, but I'm kind of funny. Like on my profession, I said I was a magician. So people would, because I want to say entrepreneur, I didn't want to say small business owner, like what a snore, you know? So I would just say I'm a magician. So it was like, because I like to think I'm funny and I'm also honest and I make magic happen. Like I have to cook, I have to like make my business like succeed. I'm a freaking magician. So, you know, that would get a lot of attention because people would be like, what kind of magician are you? Are you in Vegas? Are you in New York? And so then I would have to tell them, no, I would come clean. And then another answer that a lot of gentlemen callers really appreciated, I think, was it was on Hinge. And then the question was, how will I know if you like me? And I said, if we hold hands. And, you know, that was honest because I've been on dates and I don't want to hold your hand, but if I hold your hand, it probably means that I really like you and it feels good. Like you don't want to hold hands with a creep, right? It's like gross. Yes. So I think if you find those little moments of honesty that seem like the most banal, but can, you know, so many people said, oh, that's so romantic. And it wasn't like, I didn't have to show my T's or my A's. I didn't have to like be so revealing. And I'm not ever really revealing like that anyway. Yeah. And I've never been one to compete in that realm. Been always kind of modest like that. So, I mean, after all, I am part Pinoy and my parents both raised me like that. So I think just go with, you know, what your essence is and people will respond to it.
Yeah.
I like that whole holding hands thing. I find that super cute. Like the simplicity of it, right? You don't want to just make out with somebody. I like that.
Yeah. And it also kind of set the stage, right? Because then some of these people would be like, oh, like this is a nice woman. And it, you know, there's something still to be said about harnessing like the essence of seduction and flirting. And don't get me wrong, I know this is going to live on YouTube, and I don't want my family or like to be like, what the hell is she talking about? But I've had my fun. I've done it with people I've not known for a very long time, but you know, I was talking to one of my mentors named Lloyda Lewis. You might know her. And there's just something really sweet about taking your time to get to know someone,
I love that. Okay, my question is, you mentioned you obviously are Pinoy, and then in your family, do you get pressure to settle down till this age? Because Sherry and I always get like our aunties, uncles asking us, why don't you have a boyfriend?
Oh, yes.
Who doesn't want a man who takes care of them and like is just fun to be around, right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that pressure? And do you still get it, or you kind of don't anymore?
I'm a little bit of a different, I don't know, I'm different. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have a big family. I was always quite independent. There was even a period, and I don't recommend this, but there was a definite period where I didn't talk to my parents for like 2 years because I knew that I almost was like a working monk, in that I wanted to really investigate what were my values and what did I believe separate from my family.
Yeah.
And in large part, I circle back and I know with full integrity what I share with them and what I don't. And because, again, I don't recommend that for everyone, but because they kind of knew I was a horse of a different color, that I never got that pressure. If anything, while my dad was still alive, he would just ask me, are you happy?
Mm-hmm.
And in his thick Pinoy accent, and I don't want to mimic it or make fun of it. I know that it's so easy, especially for, I think, Filipino-Americans to do that. I'll just say in the most beautiful, thickest Filipino accent that he would always ask me, like, are you happy? And then my mom would just send me letters and texts and just say, stay on your course. Because my mom's also very different. Stay on your course and know that there's so many people who are in miserable marriages or relationships. I think she influenced me to make sure that I'm good on my own from a very early age. And so anyone that would come in my life would be an accompaniment or a compliment to life. Yeah. So my parents are different.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your dad? Because I know how close you were to him, and what happened that you lost him during this time. And just to have someone always ask you, are you happy, is something really powerful, because people don't really do that. Like, people don't really ask, like, are you happy? Like, sometimes they just think you're just okay.
He just was so dope. He was such a fly man. Like, I can't even describe. Like, he traveled the world. He was a dope person, but he wasn't without his flaws. And while he was in his first marriage, he began working on his second. You can read between the lines. And that really put a wedge between us. And so I didn't have as tight of a relationship with him in the last years, but the bond never died, even if the time we had together did.
Was food something that really bonded you? And what did you make for him, and what did he make for you?
My earliest memories of him, and I say it in my book, is when they were playing mahjong one night, and to say bite means subo, right? Like a bite.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember you playing, you're running around, and then I would come back to the table when they're playing mahjong, and then my dad would give me subo of rice, kanin, and kare-kare, and bagoong. And then the rest of the table would be like, tama na, like, don't give that to her, she's not gonna like it. And then my dad said, hindi na, because she's gonna like it because she's Pinoy. And then he gave it, and then all the eyebrows go up, like, oh, ganun ba? Like, she likes it. And so that is the beginning of my father introducing me to balot and halo and all these things, even dinagoan, that in my American life was somehow taught that it was embarrassing or downright disgusting, whether it was balot or dinagoan. So in his own way, he definitely implanted in me the idea of being a restaurant owner simply by being unashamed of who he was, how he ate, eating with his hands, everything. Like, it was a pretty stellar example, living by example.
So more about your parents. What did they teach you about besides food? What did they teach you about love?
My mom is by far a linguist in comparison to my father, and had such a different mind. And there was a lot of it was not cute sometimes, and it would make for a really great telenovela. And I wouldn't trade it, although I feel bad for their loss and pain in a divorce. But I really think I'm stronger for it today. Yeah. But it taught me the power of levity in a relationship, having a really good sense of humor, letting things go, working it out and letting it go. I think one of the hardest things a lot of us do is hold on to the pain and bring it out when it suits us. And that's not a fair way to fight. And fights will inevitably happen, arguments.
So Nicole, what do you think is the biggest misconception about Filipino food and Filipino culture?
In the beginning, when I was starting out in my career, there were people who said, Pinoys are never going to pay top dollar for it, or Americans, i.e. white, are never going to pay top dollar for it. It's never going to succeed. It'll fail. It's so brown. I was recently on Facebook and I saw someone's thread and it said, why is our food so ugly? Why, and I say, why do you think it's ugly? I mean, there are other cuisines like Indian food, Ethiopian, Spanish cuisine that are all embedded with rices or rich stews. And I never hear this conversation amongst Indians. Why is our food so ugly? Or other cultures. But I've heard that time and time again. And I'm talking about research since 1998. I've been logging in conversations, blogs, and that was even then. And it's still now 1998. What year is it? 2021. What is that? Like 23 years, 24 years later? We're still having this conversation. So that could be a misconception, but I think, what do you think about it that's so ugly? I don't know. They say, it's brown, but there are many dishes in the world that have brown stews. So
yeah, it's a bit like the psychology of it, like certain colors that really change your perception on certain things. And yeah, that's a tough one. And I wonder, you opened a restaurant in Miami. What was that like? And how's it been going so far?
It's been great, but that doesn't mean it's been easy. For any business heads out there, people wanting to get in the business, I really urge them to consider 4 factors in opening a Filipino restaurant. One would be the procurement of ingredients. I really am lucky in New York that I have a Filipino store around the corner. I mean, I have Asian stores around me. I can get anything on a dime. It's not like that in Miami. On the other hand, I have access to the best produce because it's so like Filipino, I can get calamansi. I can't get that in New York, like little things. Labor force is hard right now. I think COVID or Miami. And, you take for granted that it's a new cuisine. In New York, people know it or getting to know it. Here, no, by far, it's an unknown cuisine. So there's some obstacles to it, but I mean, I'm rolling with it.
To open a restaurant during this time and to have a restaurant as well in New York, like there's a lot of hustle there. And I want to know, what is the best habit that you've trained yourself to do? Because everyone is all about habits nowadays.
Yeah. Sleep.
Okay.
It's very simple. Sleep, water. Be mindful of the times that you eat and try to be consistent with that time, no matter what time zone I'm in. That's the hardest thing for me, is to eat on a consistent time schedule. And your team. Yeah. I have a very small team right now, and I'm working harder than I ever have before. It's made me more appreciative of team, and I'm equally more sensitive to the people that I have around me, and to make sure they really root for you. And it's not selfish, it's not immature. it's actually imperative that you have people around you, every single one of them, buy into the vision, buy into you as a leader. And if you feel any kind of way otherwise, hash it out, bring it out in the open, or you gotta move on. That's what, yeah.
I'm curious on that because one of our biggest premise or like things we live by in this show is that it's a quote by Esther Perel. She's a relationship expert, and she says, yes. So she said the quality of your relationships determine the quality of your life, and this goes with people in your team as well. How do you pick the people that are close to you?
I don't always get it right. Sometimes I choose wrong. You try to move on from it fast. Try to bring people into your life slowly, but cut them off quickly.
Oh, I like that. Just cut them out quickly. We don't usually cut them out quickly.
No.
We let them fester like mold or something on bread, or I don't know.
Yeah, and it seems counterintuitive, especially if you're a Christian or I grappled with that. Again, it's one of the more imperative things that I've learned is to cut out the cancer quickly. You have to. It doesn't serve anyone any good to keep it on, unless, of course, there's a benevolence in the relationship or an idea of how can I be better or how we can come together. But then even if you had that, you wouldn't want to get rid of them in the first place. And I'm not so disposable like that too. I'm not without heart. I'm not underestimating the idea of like benefit of the doubt, but when you know it's toxic, it's not a fit, you have to move on. That's in your personal and your professional life too.
Yeah.
If you apply that to relationships, what would be your tip to women who seem to just can't cut the toxic out?
Oh God, time is all you have, and money comes and goes. People can come and go through death or work or moving. But really, if you could honor the time that you have, guys, you're like so precious to me right now. Like you have so much time ahead of you that it can be easy to waste. But if you can honor your time now, I've had a relationship where that person stuck around for 4 years, and I wish I had cut it out and definitively said, out. It makes you healthier. You cannot get better in an environment where you got sick for a whole host of reasons. And for myself, why did I keep it around so long when I knew it wasn't right? I cut off the relationship, but they stuck around. I didn't hold myself in higher regard. And it really comes back down to self-respect. Like, what don't you like about yourself? What part of your time do you not honor that you would allow it to be wasted? But be gentle with yourself. The other day, I'm going through some pretty tough times, and I talk to God all the time. I was like, yo, God, like, what the hell? I talk to God like he's my homeboy. And so I was like, yo, God, what the heck? Like, this sucks. Like, this is awful. And he was like, yo, bitch. He was like, who do you think you are? He's like, you're a child of mine. He was like, you think I want you to suffer? You think this is punishment? I call it a gift. And so now when I go through hard times, I'm not impervious to sadness or, feeling pain, but I do look at it, I'm like, okay, so I look at it differently. I'm like, all right, where's the gift? Someone quits, someone leaves, something happens. All right, so I guess you're making room for something. Make room for the good. Holding on to the bad is only going to create more cancer. I would tell that girl, make room for the good.
I'm going to write that on my wall. Make room for the good. That's a good one.
Make room for the good.
I like that. It's simple, but it just makes so much sense. It's great.
Yeah.
So Nicole, like we mentioned a while ago, you are a true original. How do you think you can stand out in the food business?
Good taste is subjective, but quality is obvious. And I think that can be boiled down to how you produce a dish, to the idea it's generated. Creativity is hard to teach. But if you do your homework and can surround yourself with as much information, it's amazing how that nugget of a visual or something you've read can surface and can influence your decisions. I mean, that's what education is about. That's why, one of the things my parents always instilled in me was to get an education. It can never be taken away. Doesn't mean you have to pay for it. You can learn from film, you can learn from books, but pay attention and just soak it all up. There's so much out there that just, when you pay attention to it, it's astounding, and it will inform your creativity.
So, Nicole, I read a lot about you before this interview, and you're an impressive woman. I mean, clearly you're very successful. But let's backtrack a little bit. When was the earliest moment in your life that you felt successful?
6th grade. I'm 11 years old, and I decided I want to run for secretary in my middle school. And I loved school. I really nerded out on student body stuff, and I was so excited. I made a poster, poster boards, and I drew a desk. I remember I drew a desk with colored pencil, so it's very light, colored pencil, a desk, and it said Nicole Ponseca for secretary. And I rolled it up, and it was really charming, my poster, and I put it underneath my arm. And then I went to school, and I was dumbstruck. People spent money on a campaign. There were balloons, there were banners, posters, stickers, and then I had one poster. My God, how embarrassing. I really felt when you everything about you, your externals, your boobs, your chest, your stomach, your vagina, your knees, just all crumble in. I'm 11 years old. I could feel my butt cheeks go up to my ears. I was so embarrassed. And so, okay, well, I found one empty spot. I went to a public school. It was pretty big, and so I put it up. At this point, I knew I was going to lose, because what the hell am I going to do with one poster board, right? Yeah. And I said, that's okay. And I don't know where I got this, because I didn't talk to my parents about school. They didn't really talk to me about my education. They just said, get it. I don't have any brothers and sisters. But something in my head was all right, so now you know. And I can even take a breath. I'm so proud of myself as 11-year-old going into 7th grade at 12, that I went for the next election. And I asked my mom, can I have money for balloons? I bought Pepsi. I put stickers on the cans. It said, you got the right one, baby, because that was the first campaign then. And then I gave away lollipops, and I had posters, banners, the biggest banner. And my speech was bomb, and I won. And from 7th grade, I was basically class president from 7th grade on. And that was an early lesson of success, failure, getting back up. But I didn't take my failure so personal that I allowed it to take me out of the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can say this without ego and third person, to look back on that child, to say, good for you, girl. Good for you that you went the next year. You learned your lesson, you got up, and you kept going. I'm proud of her,
Gosh, I really love that story.
I love that story. That's a cute story. So, Nicole, clearly you're a strong and very self-aware woman. But what is one thing that you do not understand about yourself?
Oh, yeah. How come I cannot get my fitness together? I wish I could get my fitness and my health together. I work so hard. I see projects through. I don't give the fuck up. I've been through I cannot get it together. So maybe I need to change the language. So I can't. I'm so happy how I take care of myself and work out 5 days a week. And, Isabel Daza and I work out in the mornings together. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm going to speak it into existence.
Yeah.
So what about something beautiful that you see every day?
My future.
Oh, I like that. That's a good
Gusto
answer.
ko yan. Gagayahin ko yan. I'm
You
so
deserve the Miss
confident.
Universe sash. That was a good one. I like that answer.
Okay.
Every day I see my future, and it makes me happy.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm
Copy
gonna copy
paste.
that every morning. Okay, what is the sexiest thing about you?
Ooh.
I have to add, you're a vibe. Like the first time I saw you in the live, I was like, wow. It's like the hair, the cap, the look. I was like, wow, I like that.
The sexiest thing about me,
Mhm.
oh my God, is I have a lot of balls. There's a
Cojones,
play on
yes.
words there. If you find me, what I find sexy about myself is my courage. And I find that the people who are really attracted to me like that about me. And if you don't like me, you typically don't like that quality. I would question all of us when we are repelled or when we don't find someone attractive. That's also really interesting to dig in. Like, what don't I like about that person? And you might find something more about yourself.
I want you to finish the statement. I will be content when blank.
I am content, but I am not complacent.
Okay.
But that took a while.
Yeah.
Took a while. I'm content.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, being content doesn't mean I don't feel pain. You know, you can break a wrist or have a broken heart, and we have to mend. And you also have to mend your mental health. So I am content, but I have my pain. And what I did to get through it was my friends, therapy, and I'm happy to go a deeper dive into all of or any of those things. Books, podcasts. Louise Hay was huge for me. I surround myself with podcasts on a daily basis from the moment I wake up pretty much to when I go to sleep. If I have an earpiece on, I'm listening to music or a podcast, and I'm constantly trying to learn from others' mistakes or their lessons or their joy, and getting more in touch with my humanity helped me get over it. Yeah.
Well, connecting to all those things that you learned to improve yourself, though, what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know now about love and relationships?
I wish that I was more empowered in my 20s in many ways, even though I was courageous and had bravado. I wish that I understood the power of listening to your instinct and standing up for myself, speaking up in rooms. You know, really to honor yourself.
Nicole, what is love?
Love is pure, love is generous, love is kind, love is not jealous. We know this from,
A Walk to Remember or the Bible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depends on where you got it from.
I think love is protective, and love is wonderful and sexy and kind. I mean, love is everything, and in lieu of love is fear.